Good day, it's April 13th, 2026. In the Iran war, there is no end in sight as the ceasefire that never was continues to confuse the world. I'm Sam Buban. Welcome to The Pulse.
And I'm Jessica Rolla. Welcome to this week's edition.
Monday last week, the U.S. president threatened to end civilization in Iran unless he reopens the Strait of Hormuz that Iran had closed to sea traffic in retaliation for the U.S. and Israeli attacks on Iran. By the end of Tuesday, the deadline set by Trump to open the Strait of Hormuz or else face extinction of civilization came, but was seemingly averted by a ceasefire deal brokered by the Prime Minister of Pakistan. In the deal negotiated by Iran through the Prime Minister of Pakistan, there were 10 points demand that were published to the world and mixed signals coming from the American side that the ceasefire was on and Iran opened the Strait of Hormuz. In the deal made known by Iran to the world had 10-point demand, the four of which, among others, include opening the Strait of Hormuz under the control of Iran, and for Iran to collect $2 million toll per ship passing through the strait and share the collections with Oman. Second is that Iran will be allowed to continue uranium enrichment. And third, that Israeli attack on Lebanon and other countries that has militias supported by Iran and cessation of bombing attack on Iran. By Wednesday, the ceasefire collapsed as Israel rendered a massive bombing on South Lebanon, including the capital Beirut, where the objective of Israel was to cripple Hezbollah. Hundreds of Lebanese were reported dead and hundreds of thousands were displaced from their home. The White House, in a press conference by the White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt, she said that Trump did not agree to the 10-point deal, but the administration put out a 15-point demand as a condition of the ceasefire. By the end of Thursday, there really was no clear deal, as it appears to the multiple media outlets in the U.S. and in the world that Trump again changed his position on the ceasefire, and the press secretary called all reporting as false report and inaccurate. The entire world, whose economy had been hit hard since the war started, awaits for any hope of this war to end. We want to do this explainer to our viewers why the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz had threatened the world's economy into a recession if this continued. Here's why. About 25% of the world's oil supply passes through the Strait of Hormuz. Oil-producing countries in the Gulf, like the UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia, are carried by oil tankers vessels from the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Oman through the narrow sea called the Strait of Hormuz. For now, none of those petroleum are actually getting out of the Persian Gulf into the world market. That is why, because of the interrupted supply of crude oil, the prices has gone so high as to make every country in the world and the people suffer the consequences of high prices and economic devastation for ordinary people. Although there are other sources of crude oil that don't transit through the Strait of Hormuz, like the U.S., Venezuela, Nigeria, and other smaller countries like Gabon and others. Simply put, the closure of the Strait of Hormuz had stopped the flow of the world crude oil by 25%. That is where the choke point is.
Last week, in several special elections in Wisconsin, Democrats continue their winning streak in winning elections, even on ruby red districts, traditional Republican districts that was won by Trump by double digits. In the state of Wisconsin, the election for the state Supreme Court seat was won by Chris Taylor, the liberal judge who was supported by Democrats. Taylor led by more than 20% of all votes counted. The win guaranteed a safe majority of liberal judges in the Wisconsin's High Court. Even in a small city of Waukesha, a suburb outside Milwaukee, a Democrat was elected for mayor in this traditional Republican stronghold. In Georgia, the runoff election for the seat vacated by Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene was won by Republican Clay Fuller, who was endorsed by Trump. But Sean Harris, the Democrat, overperformed in this election, cutting Donald Trump's record by more than 25%, an indication that there was a massive swing to the left among voters in this deep red Republican district. An indication of independents who voted for Trump voted for Democrats, a pattern that is going visibly, a national trend, leading to November general election. Even school board elections, Democrats had taken the majority in last week's school board election in Cypress, Texas, defeating a candidate from the book censor and book burning movement that had flourished during Trump's first term and Biden's term.
In Las Vegas, the Filipino-American community celebrated the first anniversary of the Filipino town Las Vegas Cultural District, which Clark County, Nevada approved in a proclamation in April last year. The fanfare was attended by a few thousands of Las Vegans and from other states. It was a success, according to Bernie Benito, the board president and chair of event Ernie Buo. The event featured a parade and a Santa Cruzan or Flores de Mayo, which is popular in the Philippines. That's the Philippine version of the May Queen in English tradition. There were exhibitors and food vendors that featured Philippine cuisine. Local officials from the City of Las Vegas, North Las Vegas, Henderson, and Clark County officials came to support the event. Here are some of the footages we took from that event.
We are gathered here today to celebrate the first anniversary of our Filipino Town Cultural District. Years ago, ladies and gentlemen, it's been our dream, our vision to have our own cultural district designation. Some of our Asian countries, I stand before you. I am so delighted to have this such name as a Filipino Town Cultural District along Maryland Parkway from Flamingo Road to Desert Inn.
Del Monte for making sure that she takes care of the 150,000 Filipinos in Nevada. Maraming salamat, Hong Kong Amy. There are 4.5 million Filipino Americans in the United States. A big hand for our honorary consul. Please. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat. 2 in Northern California, 2 in Southern California, 1 in New Jersey, and the other one, Las Vegas, Nevada. Are with the best in the world, and what better way to prove it than living here in the beautiful state of Nevada. Maraming salamat po sa inyong lahat.
The entertainment was non-stop. I actually enjoyed being at the event. Here's a bonus for you, the music video produced by the Filipino Town Las Vegas Board for all films to see.
kasaysayan ay ating tanaw sa habi ng ating pagkatao. Kultura'y buhay at gintong regalo, mga to ng ating ninuno, sumisigaw sa hangin at duyo, sayaw at awit, salita't gawin, pamanay yaman na si mabibili. Isang kultura, isang diwa, nagbibigkis sa ating bansa, sa puso't diwa'y isa, ang pamanay buhay na dakila. Isang kultura, isang bayan, sa pagkakaiba'y pagkaisa ang tangan, sa bawat hakbang dala ang dangal. Isang kultura, isang pamana, itanim sa puso ng kabataan ang dangal ng ating pinagmulan. Mula sa Luzon, Visayas at Mindanao, isa ang sigaw, taas noo, Pilipino tayo. Sa alon ng pagbabago'y may gabay, ang ating kultura'y ilaw sa buhay. Habang may wika, awit at alaala, patuloy tayong may pagkakakilanlan. Isang kultura, isang diwa, nagbibigkis sa ating bansa, sa puso't diwa'y iisa, ang pamanay buhay na dakila. Isang kultura, isang bayan, sa pagkakaiba'y pagkaisang tangan, sa Filipino town Las Vegas. Isang kultura, isang pamana.
This music video is also available on the official website of the Filipino Town Las Vegas Cultural District.
Trump's Department of Justice sent a letter to the House Oversight Committee informing Congress that former U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi will not be appearing for deposition based on a subpoena to testify because she is no longer the Attorney General. But committee leaders on both sides of the aisle, but not James Comer, want Bondi to appear whether or not holds the title. The reality is she can be subpoenaed on her personal capacity as Pam Bondi. Some legal analysts described the Department of Justice move as a delaying tactic because the House of Representatives Committee can simply amend the subpoena to name Pam Bondi, the person from Pam Bondi, the Attorney General. The subpoena has something to do with the handling of the Epstein files that has been covered by a law. The DOJ is also facing a serious problem with some of their leadership facing disciplinary action over the handling of D.C. Chief Judge Boasberg, where the DOJ ignored his order not to deport undocumented aliens to Honduras. And in particular, center of the controversy is Kilmar Abrego Garcia, who was deported and imprisoned at the infamous CICAT anti-terrorist prison in Honduras. Judge Boasberg is not done yet with wanting to know the facts of who are involved at DOJ in blatantly ignoring his order. The same DOJ that gave Judge Boasberg a hard time when he ordered Kilmar Abrego Garcia to be brought back to the U.S. and created a drama of bringing back the detainee only to be charged with a crime of human smuggling in Tennessee. The saga continues as former DOJ lawyers who were fired by Bondi are now testifying in Judge Boasberg's court and asking for a disciplinary action for blatant disregard or a judge order and not following the law. They are asking for disbarment of their former colleagues. It is now on record that now Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche and now U.S. Court of Appeals Judge Emil Bowe had a role in the violation of the judge's order. Testimony by one former DOJ lawyer shows that Emil Bove knew about the order and told DOJ and relied to ICE to proceed with the flights that included Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Judge Boasberg also wants to know whose idea it was to dig up something and charge Kilmar Abrego Garcia with human smuggling. One lawyer already said on court records that it was done in retaliation to Garcia for embarrassing the Trump administration, according to reporting by NBC and other outlets. We have done several segments the past 6 months on Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and we will continue to follow this saga as things develop. Let's take a commercial break. When we come back, we will be joined by Alicia Murphy, candidate for judge. With us now, here at our Philam TV studios, is Alicia Murphy, candidate for judge for Las Vegas Municipal Court, Department 2. Again, we want to tell our viewers from abroad that here in the U.S., state court judges are elected and federal judges are appointed by the president. So Alicia Murphy, welcome to The Pulse.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate this.
Why don't you tell us and our viewers a little bit about your professional background?
Sure. So I've been here in Las Vegas since 2017, and before that, I was in North Carolina. And living in North Carolina, I grew up there. So, coming out here was a little bit of a change. But I was a practicing attorney in North Carolina as well. And so in that role, I was handling felony cases. That was things like sex assaults involving children or serious DUI offenses. There's a couple cases that always stick out with you. And so, of course, I'm thinking about those. But those cases went to a jury trial. And so I've got that experience under my belt. And then on down to things like civil infractions. So if someone were to get a speeding ticket, then we would handle those cases as well. And then I met my husband. At the time, he was active duty in the Marine Corps. Right. And he was actually getting ready to separate and go into the reserve division. And he said, I'm looking at moving out west. I want to be closer to my mom. His mom's in California. And so I said, I'm up for an adventure.
Perfect. And then is this the first time you're running for elected office here? And then did you ever run in North Carolina or just here in Nevada?
No. So this is my first time. Yeah. So first time running for office and learning a lot about it. It's, you get through civics when you're in school, but it's a whole new world when you're actually truly behind the scenes and seeing how your government works. Yes. And going through the process yourself.
And so given your extensive experience you've gotten, I think in like such a short amount of time, less than 10 years, or do you from your move to North Carolina, what are the kind of cases you are going to be hearing from what
Sure.
for Department 2 if you're elected?
Yeah, so I've actually been a practicing attorney since 2012.
Right.
And then, like I said, focusing here in municipal court since 2019.
Yeah.
And so the types of cases that come before municipal court are those civil citations like we talked about, because we have a dedicated traffic court.
Yes.
And then we get all of the criminal misdemeanors that occur within the city of Las Vegas. So that's anything.
Wow.
Yeah, so you think about if someone were trespassing on property that belonged to you, if someone, went into a store and took something from a small business owner, those petty larceny cases, right? So that's going to be anything between lower than $1,200. The DUIs, like we talked about, and also domestic violence. And so the thing that's a little different about municipal court and domestic violence cases is all misdemeanors generally go to a bench trial. And
right.
So when I'm talking about a bench trial, for those who may not know, that's a judge is presiding and listening to the facts of the case and rendering judgment. But with the domestic violence cases, those are actually entitled to a jury trial.
Correct.
And so we do a full jury of 12, just like I did in the felony cases back in North Carolina. And, it's important because a person's constitutional right to the Second Amendment to bear arms is at risk if they are convicted of that domestic violence case. And so, that's one of the things that we get to do in municipal court, and one of the things that I'm prepared to do and handle as a judge when elected.
So, if elected and given the latitude to change things for the better in the municipal court department, to Alicia, what's on the top of your wish list? I know you mentioned a couple things.
Yeah.
What's top?
So the really cool thing about me being able to preside in Department 2 is Department 2 has a specialty court that focuses on DUIs. And so obviously with that being such an important factor of what I do now, I am really looking forward to being able to get into that court and really seeing how we can expand it to assist more people, because the more people that we can assist there in the specialty courts, we can impact and lower recidivism through those completions and being able to focus on the substance use disorders that a lot of folks have.
Right.
And by reducing that recidivism, we are giving back and improving our community as well. So really looking forward to getting in and being able to, I think the court runs well, but it can always run better. And so I'd really like to see a couple changes, just a little bit in the formatting and how we're seeing people, and maybe getting some additional folks from the community who have struggled with substance use and have been able to find a way out of that.
Right.
In terms of mentorship and speaking and bringing in folks, there's a couple folks that I know in particular who have been impacted by DUIs because they've lost a family member.
Right.
To
the
a
victim panel type thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so, really looking at being able to bring in that aspect, because people can make a connection when they see someone who's been impacted. And, sometimes that can make a big difference for folks in terms of really stopping with their use. And so, really would like to just continue that work and really be able to see it expand and the great things that we can do for the city as a whole.
I believe you. And so how is your campaign trail going?
Sure. I mean, it is a constant.
Yes.
I run into you often, and it's always great to see
you are out there.
It's always great to see a smiling face when I'm in places.
Yeah. It's fun.
But yeah, it's like I said, you're seeing a completely different the behind the scenes, behind the wizard's veil of what it's like. And it's a lot of hard work, but it is so worth it. My husband and I were just hanging up some of my giant A-frame skins and like really putting, the skin to the metal literally in that one. And so we got to work together and test our communication skills a little bit there. we did well.
Yeah.
But I get to meet a lot of really cool people out on the trail.
Yeah.
And I think that for me, the thing that I've tried to focus on with my campaign really is at the heart of what I believe municipal court does, and that's get into the community.
Yeah,
and
real people. Yeah.
Truly impacting the community, because folks may not know someone who's dealt with a felony or been, you might not know someone who's been charged with a felony, or you may not know someone who's been a victim of a felonious crime. But a lot of folks know people who have been impacted by misdemeanors.
Right.
And so, I think that the other component for me with being on the trail is education. And so it's talking like we are talking now, right?
Yeah.
And teaching people about all the things that the municipal court does and the impacts that municipal court can have on their lives. Folks never think about court in terms of, why do I need to know about judges?
Yeah.
I'll never be in court. And
well,
for
never
most
say
people,
never, right?
and for most people they won't. But on the occasion that you do find yourself in court, whether you're there for that traffic citation like we talked about, or you've been the victim of a crime, it's important to know that the people who are there and that are presiding can be fair, can be unbiased, can listen to the facts of the case, and not formulate a decision just based on, what side of the aisle a person is seated on. Right. And so I'm really grateful for the life experiences that I have with family, with my background coming from North Carolina, working in rural communities and being able to come here. And while this is a larger city, Las Vegas truly is a very small town.
Yes.
When you really get down to it.
It is.
I was lucky
Small
to meet,
but big.
Absolutely. Like my son's coach for Little League, I ran into him at an event because he's a member of one of the chambers out here.
Yeah.
And so you just never know who you're going to run into. And so that's why I really do bring it back. And so much of my campaign has been, I say, community driven and ready to serve, because that is absolutely at the heart of what I do as a person, even in my current role for the city, and what I'm looking to do in that role as a judge for Las Vegas.
Awesome. So we're almost toward the end of the segment, and so why don't you just talk directly to the voters out there, to the camera, because I know you can do it, and you have so much power that you can with your voice. So go ahead and pitch to everyone, your voters.
Thank you. And like I said, my name is Alicia Murphy, and I am your candidate for Las Vegas Municipal Court Department 2. Our courts need experience, and they need the right kind of experience. And I'm very proud to say that I have that right experience to be able to serve you, the citizens. I'm just looking to have a little different role this time around. Like I said, I've been serving you since 2019 and looking to carry that over. I know that I am more than capable of being fair and I'm impartial, listening to the facts of the case and applying the law, and also seeing the humanity that exists in every single person that comes in the court and giving them that respect. And so what I'm hoping that you will do after seeing this is check out my website at www.murphy4judge.com. You can follow me on social media, particularly on Instagram, where you can see when I run into Jess at Murphy's Law LV. Again, that's Instagram, Murphy's Law LV, and you can see the amazing folks that I get to see on the campaign trail and truly see that I do stand by what I'm saying when I mean that I'm community driven and ready to serve. And I'm just asking for your vote on June 9th in the primary, that it's Murphy for municipal court. I'm a down ballot, so I'm just asking folks to start all the way at the back, flip it over down at the bottom, find Murphy, check the box, and I'm looking forward to serving you, the citizens of Las Vegas.
Alicia Murphy, candidate for Municipal Court Judge, Department 2. Thank you so much for talking to
thank
me
you.
today, and good luck on your race. And to our viewers, please join us again next week for another edition of The Pulse. I'm Jessica Rolla. Thank you for watching.